episode of Locker Talk here on Access 7. I'm Pete Pasco. As you can see, we've got a full deck of guests on board, so we're going to get right to that. Of course, need to bring in our co-host, Mitchell Blair, who's in the top right corner. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Also fine.
Good.
Tremendous, even.
All right.
Our next guest.
Who do we have below us?
Well, let's find out. We have, actually, we can work from right across your screen to left with the introductions. All of them are representatives of the Regina Ringette Association in one way, shape, or form. Darin Degenstein is here. He's a board member and marketing director for the association. His daughter, Sara, seated next to him. She's a under-19 player. Working our way across, we have Tania Orr, who's the head coach of Ravens. Is that the team name?
The Regina Rivals.
Okay.
Regina.
All right. And Tania's daughter, Falon Wilker, seated next to her, who plays in the U14 division, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. I got one thing right. This best show ever so far. Let's jump right into it. Darin, we'll start with you. COVID-19, obviously an issue for every sports organization. What's been the impact on Ringette so far?
Well, funny enough, one of the things that we've done this year is actually grow. And I think our growth is, well, parents want to put their kids into something that's safe, but also, keep them active. And so we had our Children's Ringette program new this year. We put some Come Try Ringettes together and invited members of the public for our free Come Try Ringettes. And Jolene Sentes is our leader for our Children's Ringette, the commissioner, doing a fantastic job. So we actually grew this year. However, that's the good news. The COVID situation makes it really hard to run a league. But with the Ringette community, we're following all the SHA guidelines. We're taking it very seriously. I know you would probably say it's kind of tough to wear the masks in and out of the locker room and all that. But we've actually had zero COVID cases with Ringette Regina. We've had one false alarm, so we shut down the mini league and waited for the test results and all followed our protocols with our safety officers and everything like that. But it was a false positive. And I think one of the reasons that we're, been so good with that is because everybody in the league knows we all want to play. And we all know that in your day-to-day lives, we got to be safe because if something happens, then that we can put Ringette in jeopardy. So I think that's one of the reasons why we've been pretty successful with managing through COVID and, in fact, growing.
Is it frustrating for the fact that you've done so well in limiting the spread, and yet I'm guessing the new restrictions that the government put on last week have some effect on you as well?
Yeah, it absolutely did. What we did was, as a board, we surveyed all of our members. The coaching director surveyed all the coaches, got all the feedback saying, do we want to proceed with practices? Because the SHA allowed 8-player practices. And the feedback was kind of mixed. But at the end of the day, we thought, well, Ringette is really a community focused in on developing these young athletes, female-dominated sport, these young female athletes into confident leaders, into confident people. It's an environment of empowerment and nurturing. And really, that goes hand in hand with an environment of being safe. And so we thought, we don't want to put anybody at risk in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to take that 3-week pause and in hopes that, everything kind of flattens out and we can resume the game on then, right? So, yeah.
Tania, what's it been like for you as a coach? I mean, obviously this is the most unusual season since you've been coaching, however long that is. But coaches are creatures of habit, and you like structure, and you like practicing at a certain time and knowing when your game's going to be and how you build up to that. That's all out the window right now. So how are you doing what you're doing?
Well, and it's definitely been challenging. I've been coaching for 5 years, and this is definitely the most challenging. We are so used to being able to go on team tournaments and take team buses and really have a lot of team building events. This year, we're only allowed in the rinks 10 minutes before the game or the practice, and it's rush, get your skates on. And so we're really missing kind of that real element of team building where you get to know the girls really well and know them on a personal level. So we're doing our best to keep them safe, and that's all we can do right now, and just be grateful that they get to play at all. So
you bring up a great point. There's not much time to interact with your team, and that's got to be tough, coach to player, player to player, because you're just not used to that. And as you said, there are usually team building exercises. You get to know one another, they get to know you. That's something I think a lot of people have seemingly forgotten about, but it is a very important part of the whole equation, isn't it?
absolutely. And I've always said, as a coach, I just don't like to coach the game. I like to provide, I always call an experience for the girls on my team. And this year, it's not the same experience for sure. You know, we've had to have some Zoom meetings and that kind of stuff. So it definitely is a big challenge for sure.
Sara, tell us about you. Obviously, when you started Ringette, you never dreamed you'd be on TV sitting next to your dad. This is probably a real pinch me type of moment for you. But how long have you been playing? And I understand you've got some experience playing overseas in Sweden and Finland. So tell us about that too.
I think I've been playing for 12 years, has it been?
Yeah, since you were 7, yeah.
Yeah, and Finland and Sweden, well, that was a real experience. So one of the things that, like, it's so different, even though the sport is the same sport, it's still Ringette, there are so many differences between how we play it here and how they play it there. Like, for instance, like the blue lines, they're so much closer to the center circle than here, so you gotta get ready and get and just, it's so much faster that way. The game was a lot faster. And another thing, there was four quarters of the game instead of just 2 halves like we normally have it. And there's also an ice cleaning in between too. That was interesting.
Clean ice for the second half. That's so awesome.
And the times were different too. They had 14-minute periods instead of the usual 17 or 20-minute period. And they counted
in quarters,
yeah. And the time they counted upwards. They started at 1 to go to 14 instead of 14 going down to 1. So that was also different. Yeah, and I scored a goal.
Nice. What was the reason for being there? Was it a tournament or what was happening?
It was for the experience, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a specific tournament. We played in Sweden and Finland.
Yeah.
It was just to give the team the whole experience. The coach of that team was Andrea Weston. She brought a team over to Finland and Sweden 20 years prior, and now before she had kids, and now that her child was of that age, she thought, I'm going to do it again. One of the coaches of that team, Leslie, was a player on that team 20 years ago, so it's a nice tradition to kind of keep up, right? So I'd like to do it more often, though. What was your favorite part?
Oh, my favorite part? I think afterwards we all kind of got together, both teams got together. We just got to chat with each other and just learn about different traditions of what we do and just get to know one another. That was probably my favorite part.
Falon, let's find out about you. How long have you been playing? How'd you get your start? What do you enjoy about the sport?
This is my 7th year playing Ringette, and it's also my first year playing in an A level. I like this. I really like A because it's more it's competitive. I like how competitive it is, and then I enjoy the sport because of the speed, and then it's also really fun to make friendships, different friendships that I have kept with me for a long time now, throughout my whole Ringette career, basically. And then, well, this year I haven't really gotten the full A experience because usually we would be in like a couple tournaments and we'd have at least 4 or 5, but we haven't gone anywhere yet because of COVID. So,
Falon, how strange has it been for you this year, and how many of the girls did you know beforehand? And has that made it stranger trying to sort of get to know these girls when, as we talked about before, you can't really do a lot of team building?
yeah, I actually didn't know many girls before, maybe since they've all like played A before this year, and this is my first year. I only knew really like 2 or 3 of them, but I've heard of the rest. And then it is kind of hard because we don't get like the hour in the dressing room like we would normally have if the this year wasn't so weird. So it has been a little difficult, but with that 10 minutes, I think I've actually gained a lot of friendships with my team, so it hasn't been too bad.
Darin, fingers crossed you've got some events and some programs coming up in January and February. What can you tell us about those?
Yeah, so right now we're hoping that we can resume, so we get our games back on. All our mini leagues are with the team thing, but we're already thinking about what would it look like if we can't resume games. I know Access Now came out and televised 6 games for us not that long ago. I'd love to get more of those games televised. Everybody loves to be on TV, so get some of those games televised. It's awesome. But even having skills competition is another thing we could do. So get on the ice and let the, so you can social distance on the ice and follow the SDK guidelines and have a shootout or we have a whole bunch of different skills competitions to run. That'd be a lot of fun too. It's a bit of a planning all the different scenarios and then the wait and see. But definitely want the skills camp, the televised games, have a couple more Ringette days. When we televise those 6 games, that was on our Ringette day where we normally have a tournament. But again, keep it in the mini loops. And if we have to go as things remain locked down, then maybe practices and skills camps, assuming it's safe to do so.
Good stuff. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, first and foremost. And obviously, things are weird, but let's hope they get a little less weird in 3 weeks or so. And hopefully you can have what amounts to what looks like a real season in January and going forward. So good luck.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks
Anytime.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Stick around, folks. More to come.
Bye-bye.